from me? What have I done? I'm just a word processor, damn it.
Martin Scorsese is widely considered one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. He's directed some of the best and most influential films of the last half century. Some of his most notable works include Goodfellas, The Wolf of Wall Street, and Taxi Driver. Now, I'm sure if you even have the remotest interest in film, you may recognize some of those names. But the film I want to talk about today is one which, on its release, went under the radar and has remained one of Scorsese's most underrated films since its release over 40 years ago. After Hours is Martin Scorsese's comedic, anxiety-inducing odyssey from 1985, the point where he had just begun to establish himself as a great director, with Raging Bull and King of Comedy releasing previously. After Hours follows a man named Paul, a lonely guy working a desk job, who meets a woman called Marcy in a cafe, and they agree to a date in Manhattan's Soho district that night. But on Paul's journey to meet with Marcy, his $20 bill flies out of the cab he's in. This moment marks the beginning of what would be the craziest night of Paul's life. The plot of After Hours is quite a simple one on the surface, but when you delve deeper, it does seem to have more layers to it. Basically, this film is just a series of unfortunate events for this guy called Paul, who just really wants to go home, but the city of Manhattan doesn't seem to let him. Paul is a pretty boring and sad guy, but he walks into this coffee shop and is intrigued by this Marcy character, who's quite mysterious and leads him into this whole night of intrigue. But to really understand After Hours, we have to take a look at the man behind the camera, that obviously being Martin Scorsese. I've obviously mentioned already that After Hours isn't seen by many people as Scorsese's best film, but to be fair, he has made films like Goodfellas, so it's fair enough. But this film is considered a cult classic by many people and is very well regarded by those who have seen it. Well, just for some backstory on the film, this film wasn't actually written by Martin Scorsese, and it was originally going to be directed by Tim Burton, which would have been quite cool considering his whole style and this plot. But production issues with The Last Temptation of the Christ led Scorsese to make this, and The Last Temptation of the Christ actually released 3 years after this. So what approach did Martin Scorsese take in directing this film? Well, something I've found Scorsese does really well in this film is he treats Manhattan, especially the Soho district which this film takes place in, he treats it like a maze. And he does this using dynamic camera angles, which really emphasizes the absurdity of the whole film in general. And he's assisted by his director of photography, Michael Ballhaus.
I had met Michael Ballhaus, who worked with Fassbinder, and we changed the whole way of working. So for me, it was really learning how to make pictures again and learning to shoot fast and a sense of freedom, you know.
I think the work from Michael Ballhaus and Martin Scorsese to create the fluid camera work played a huge role in building the film's claustrophobic atmosphere. One element which this film relies quite heavily on in order to be interesting is its characters. Its protagonist, Paul, is not very interesting. He appears to be a pretty normal and rather boring guy. At times, we can see his true colors come out when he's put in really uncomfortable circumstances. And we can see how a boring average guy like him can just lose his mind when put in these scenarios. But to be honest, this movie isn't really about Paul, and it's the people around him which make the film what it is. There's a ton of weird, eccentric characters in this film who work together in making Paul's life a living hell. There are some characters who also seem more rational, like there's the dad from Home Alone who seems to be more friendly. But then there's the rest of them who just seem to be put there in order to drive Paul insane. Like for instance, there's the mum from Home Alone, and yes, both the parents from Home Alone are here for some odd reason. And there's also the fact that there's no set antagonist or side character. There's just a number of weird characters who just act as barriers for Paul, who's just simply trying to get home.
That's what I liked about Paul, because he tried to be reasonable. But there's no such thing as that kind of reason, really, especially down there, you know.
This film also has a number of interesting themes. One obvious one being money. Obviously, I've mentioned earlier on the film, and the starting point of the drama is when the $20 bill flies out of the window when he's in the taxi. And it kind of shows how, as a society or individuals, we're very reliant on money to survive in the world. And we can see when Paul is left to his own devices without his money, everything goes to chaos. And there's also the scene later on where he's in a train station and he can see the train is about to come. And he's 53 cents short of paying the fare for the train. and we can see the train going past. And there's that really annoying character who is the operator who will just not let him through. And it's really frustrating, and I think this film in general is really frustrating. But this is just a clear example of how money is just a huge theme in this film. The idea of this entire world being against our main character Paul, and we get just become really familiar with the idea of it by the end. There's also the main theme of punishment in this film, and it aligns with the idea of Murphy's Law, the idea that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And this is definitely the case for our protagonist Paul. There's that obvious scene which I showed at the beginning of this video where he basically questions to the world, what have I done to deserve this? And that really just reflects how punishment plays a big role in this film. This film also has a strange structure which we don't really see in a lot of films. It's only 97 minutes, but there's so many things it gets through, and the fact that it's insanely fast paced obviously plays a huge role in it, and it makes this film just an absolute thrill ride. And despite the short runtime, it feels like you've just been with Paul this entire night and you just wanted to end as much as him. And one reason why I wanted to talk about this film was because I could see its influence in modern day films. Like, one example being The Drama, which I saw just a few months ago. We could see like the anxiety inducing and insanely stressful nature of After Hours in Robert Pattinson's character in The Drama.
Can you just calm down for a second?
Sam is actually...
Can you just please, like this, can you just stop gossiping?
It's not directly correlated, but it's just a similar vibe, which I really appreciated. Something I wanted to mention was the fact that I only know about this film because of the Criterion Collection. The Criterion Collection is obviously a collection of not so popular films, which sometimes include really big directors, but not their biggest films. And obviously, this isn't one of Scorsese's biggest films. And I think without the help of the Criterion Collection, I wouldn't have heard of it because it is definitely overshadowed by his bigger films. So yeah, thanks to the Criterion Collection for that. Finally, I wanted to comment on how this film doesn't really have a genre. I wanted to say it was a thriller, but there's also so many other things you could call it. There's an element of dark comedy because some could see Paul floundering about and think it's very funny, but some also sympathize with him. He's put in some really nightmarish situations which contribute to this film's label as a dark comedy. You could also call it a noir or crime drama, the fact that it all takes place in one night. Overall, you could call it a thriller, you could call it a comedy. It's an interesting mix of everything. I think Martin Scorsese must have had just a lot of fun making this film. And it's obviously a very anxiety-inducing film, as I've mentioned many times throughout this video. So yeah, that's me talking about After Hours by Martin Scorsese. If you haven't already watched it, you should check it out and like, subscribe, and comment what you want to see next.
They're all trying to kill me. I mean, I just want to meet a nice girl, and now I've got to die for it? What do you want from me? What have I done?